And this is a night of great matches. They had the best match up to that moment. Then you had the main event of night one, Bianca Belair winning the SmackDown Women's Championship against Sasha Banks. First time two women one-on-one main eventing a WrestleMania. It's a two-night WrestleMania. They
The
were main
African
eventing night
American
one.
women.
And then I was about to make the distinction, as Michael Cole said on the broadcast, the first time two black women in the main event, to quote Michael Cole, which, I mean, it was a historic moment. You could see Sasha and Bianca having the realization of what the moment meant while they were in the ring, looking at each other. I mean, Bianca's holding back tears, Sasha's holding back tears, and even after Bianca goes over in that match, you see Sasha on the outside, and look, she just lost the women's championship in the main event. She's smiling ear to ear. She's so happy, because of what that moment meant. So it was, and by the way, I mean, out of this night one, it was the best match on the show. It was one of the top two best matches of all WrestleMania. And Bianca Belair walks out of this on the precipice of becoming the next megastar in professional wrestling.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and JBL said that wasn't Black history; it was just history. But you know, and I didn't. It wasn't the right time. It was Black history,
absolutely,
as far as I'm concerned, because the last time two African Americans stood in the ring in the main event in that company, it was 20 years ago, and it was me and The Rock at SummerSlam. So it was 20 years ago. Two African Americans stood across the ring from each other. And combat with each other. So it was Black history. And I'll correct JBL on that at another time.
Yeah, no, I mean it was definitely both, but yeah, I thought it was actually a very, very keen and poetic thing for Michael Cole to call attention to it, right? I mean, he could have easily just said, you know, for the first time two women main event WrestleMania, but for him to call attention to the moment for what it is, because that more than anything let people know that it's possible, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that what it's all about? Wow. Well, not only do we have two women, but for the first time, but it happens to be two black women, and really the two most talented women in the company right now, in my opinion, are Bianca and Sasha. Sasha's been on all cylinders for like 2 years, and to have that match with Bianca, it was cool. It gave me chills watching it. Just seeing them look at each other gave me chills.
Yeah. There again, it just goes back to what we was just talking about with the gauntlet match with the ladies. Bianca Belair, man, she come out, man, she's ready to go. She looks good. She plays the part all the way. And then Sasha Banks, man, the boss, you know, ain't bad to look at. But then when she get in the ring and start performing, that's when everything changes. And that's what I'm talking about as far as the ladies going out there and literally playing that role all the way out. You just can't look good. You got to look good and tell me a story at the same time. Because it's all about stories, man. It's all about the Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, and Phantom of the Opera. So, yeah, man, awesome match between those two ladies. But go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, because I was standing next to, you were on commentary or you were doing something at WrestleMania 35 at the time. I was standing next to Sharmell whenever Kofi won the world title. And that was a big moment too. When you talk about Black history, right? Sharmell, you were, I'm sure, close to her vicinity, or you talked to her right after this match happened. What was the Queen's reaction to this?
Oh, man, she was really excited, man. She was so excited to see Bianca Belair and, you know, Sasha Banks doing it. And she actually, you know, made the comment. She go, "Wow, you know, two black women in there doing it, man." And she said, "I ain't mad at them." That's what she said. She said, "I ain't mad at them." You know, which was just let me know that she gave the stamp of approval, man. That we've come a very, very long way, and big ups to Sasha Banks as well as Bianca Belair, the new women's champion. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
To you, because we have these other two super chats before we get off on that. RDAB with the $20. Appreciate you, my man. First, RIP DMX. Now about WrestleMania. I have this weird feeling about the night one main event. Do you guys find it strange that two black men have never went one-on-one in the Mania main event? First black WWF man, 1950s, Sapphire, 1989. Then he continues with another $20. Appreciate that. Bobo Brazil wrestled San Martino for the WWF title in the 50s and beat Buddy Rogers for the title, but rejected the title. Mr. Brazil also mentioned The Rock's father. 0 black women in the WWF until 1989.
That right there may be the problem. You know what I mean? 0 black women until 1989. Okay, it took a lot of groundbreaking to actually, get us to this point. Honestly, myself in WCW being black champion in WCW. Let's just talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
How many other guys in WCW that you would have considered world championship caliber that was black other than me?
You were probably the only one.
It's probably the only one. In WWE, of course, The Rock was there. When I was there, like I say, him and I, we headlined SummerSlam. So that's one for 2 brothers in the main event slot. I just don't think it's been that many of us in one company at one time that was that looked upon from the fans to say, man, this guy could be world champion. I just don't think it was enough of us. More than anything, we wasn't the dominant number, of guys on the card. Never in this business. So it was always going to be, a black guy normally against a white guy or Mexican guy. You could say that about 2 Mexicans. How many Mexicans have you had, in the main event, at WrestleMania? You know what I mean? So I just think, I think we still got a long way to go.
Sure.
More importantly, I mean, right now in WWE, I think we got more blacks in WWE now than we've ever had.
And more black champions.
More black champions. So we've come a long. I mean, we've come a long way. So I try my best to get away from thinking about, looking at it from a black and white perspective, even though we have situations like Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, where we got to mention it because it's a first. You know,
first. You have to make,
and it should be recognized, and that's the only reason it should be recognized. And we should move on from that to making it even bigger next time.
And a normal thing where you don't even have that
exactly.
thought,
yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. And you and I have talked about this before, but when I was younger and I'd see guys like you, Austin, and Rock, y'all were just my favorite wrestlers. Right, I didn't look at you all in a racial aspect, but that's not. But looking at it in a racial aspect isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like when I was having this conversation yesterday, it's like when I actually look at Booker's career, you have to acknowledge all the championships, all the most decorated, competitor of any race of all time in WCW history, but the second black man to ever win that world title, which meant so much. You come over to WWE, you win another world title. You're one of 4 men, first 4 men to go into the Hall of Fame twice, the only man, African-American man to be in the Hall of Fame twice, right? Like those are things that you have to acknowledge. You're not there in those positions because of your race, but you have to acknowledge that those are groundbreaking, monumental moments. And without Booker T doing what he did in his career, and I'm not just saying this because you're in front of me, I'd say this to anybody. Without you doing what you did and main eventing with The Rock at SummerSlam, being a trailblazer, being the most decorated champion of all time in WCW history, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair don't main event WrestleMania. They don't. You had to break those barriers down. Guys like you, guys like Ron Simmons, guys like The Rock, guys like Mark Henry. It's impossible. It's impossible. And we had that conversation a few years ago about, who was remember Mark Henry had his list of the top black wrestlers of all time, but you can look at it any way you want to. Ron Simmons obviously was the first one to do it, but without your career, none of this that we're talking about is possible. It's not. You were the absolute groundbreaker and the trailblazer for everything that came after you. Since the year 2000 on, all the progress that black wrestlers have made in this industry to the moment that we saw on Saturday night with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks is directly tied to what you did in your career. And I don't know if you ever stop to think and acknowledge that.
I never think about that. I never think about it.
And I understand why. You're not that kind of guy. You're not that kind of person to self-aggrandize. But it's the truth. At the end of the day, it's the God's honest truth. And I'd say that to you even if I didn't know you. Without you, none of that was possible.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I worked hard, man. I worked hard for, the next generation to be able to come up and, go out there and do it big and, take what I did and take it to the next level. Break all my records, if you can. That's my thing. I'm not sitting here saying, man, it's all about me or anything like that. I want to see what wrestling truly can become when, you know, so many people out there think about looking at wrestling from a perspective, because, you know, when you're from the neighborhood, wrestling is just not a way that you think it's going to be your way out. You're just not looking at it. That's just not it. But when you see people like myself who did it, and then you watch Kofi Kingston, you know, he
Yep.
break through and did do it, and then you watch Sasha Banks, all of her, you know, literally career making moments, history making moments that she's been a part of, and now Bianca Belair as well. You know, Bobby Lashley. So I just think, man, once you know, the outside world starts seeing people like that, like myself, Bobby, and the many others, they think, man, this might be a career. This might be a way out, and maybe some years from now, it might be you know, an equal, you know, number of you know, superstars on the card. But until we get there, I mean, we're just going to keep trying. But we cannot look back and at the past and complain. We got to work. That's what it's all about. Super chats.
Super chat just came through from Turfa Quimbe. I'm hoping I'm doing that right. I'm sorry, my man. He said, Brad Gilmore, that was beautiful. I appreciate you, man. And then Dodger Ryan 124, the last black wrestler who I thought could really become a main eventer was Sheldon Benjamin back in 2005. He was definitely on the ascent there when he was working with Sean at that moment.
Sheldon, you know, if Sheldon wasn't bow-legged.
Stop that. Hey, let's transition though to one of the super chats that came in a minute ago from Giannis. Talk about the Fiend. The Fiend comes back after a hiatus.
What's up on that, man?
Burned,
you know what
battered, torn.
Bow-legged.
Look, man,
I'm
I'm here to lift Shelton up. I'm not here to tear him down. You know what I mean? I'm here to lift Shelton up. Shelty B.
What's up, this Booker T, two-time Hall of Famer. I know you're checking out the Shine, checking out the Gloss. I want to thank you guys for checking out Row on YouTube. Hey, don't forget to click and subscribe to check out all the latest content right here each and every week. Now, can you dig that, sucker?